A young NASA scientist encounters an alien, but no one believes his story, so he sets out to discover the truth himself. The film opens with a sequence set in the Wrangell Forest in Alaska in 1979. Two lumberjacks are in the process of signaling their base that they are done with their work and are heading home. However, while driving, one of their trucks is suddenly lifted into the air and then slammed onto the ground by an UFO. The base subsequently loses communication with both trucks. One of the lumberjacks manages to survive the ordeal, but is frightened and flees into the woods. Unfortunately, he is eventually abducted by the aliens. The scene then shifts to present day. Isaac Cypress is a young man who currently works as a computer engineer at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory located in California. When he arrives at work, he meets with his colleagues, Beck and Greta, and together they monitor various satellite signals and movements. During their work, Beck draws their attention to a signal coming from Canada that appears frequently, despite there being no grounded satellites in the area. Curious, Isaac intercepts the signal's frequency and unintentionally sends it into space using one of their satellites. Later that night, Isaac receives another signal from an unknown source, which piques his interest, but he doesn't take any action regarding it, thinking that it might be a glitch. The following day, Isaac visits his psychotherapist and is advised to start making video diaries as a form of self-healing and to clear his mind. As he begins recording his thoughts, he starts to perceive the existence of various dimensions. The next morning, a blazing meteor enters the Earth's atmosphere and attracts the attention of everyone in the area. While out hiking in the mountains with his camera, Isaac witnesses the event and decides to film it. He then hides himself and runs into the woods to capture footage of the spacecraft that emerges from the meteor. Suddenly, an alien appears behind him, but to Isaac's surprise, it does not harm him and simply walks away. Nevertheless, Isaac gets frightened and runs for his life. The next day, news of the meteor is all over the media, and Isaac and his colleagues are supposed to collect samples from the meteorite. However, Isaac is nowhere to be found. 3 days later, Isaac wakes up in a completely unfamiliar place. After checking his camera, he discovers that he still has footage of the alien encounter and of himself being lifted off the ground. He also notices a strange mark on his arm. When he returns home, he sits on his bed and reflects on recent events. As he looks at his TV, it suddenly disappears before his eyes. He reaches out his hand to where the TV was and finds that it passes through some kind of invisible barrier, as if he's reaching into another dimension. As he focuses on the spot, the TV suddenly reappears. Isaac is taken to the hospital, where he is diagnosed with dehydration and advised to rest. During his examination, the doctor notices a very thin fracture on his arm, which is precisely cut all the way through with no sign of scar tissue. Later, when Isaac returns to work, he decides to show Beck his newfound ability. He demonstrates it using a cup. He moves the cup to another dimension and is now not visible to Isaac. But surprisingly, Beck is not able to perceive the same thing as Isaac, and he still sees the cup as it is. Isaac shares the footage of the alien encounter with Beck, who is shocked by what he sees. Isaac then goes home and decides to upload the video to YouTube. The next morning, Isaac is awakened by a call from a news anchor who wants to cover the story of his uploaded video. Isaac checks the video and is surprised to see that it has received almost 1 million views overnight. Isaac is then interviewed by the news anchor. However, the interview doesn't go as expected, as the host expresses doubt and questions Isaac's credibility, leaving him feeling embarrassed and angry. Despite this, Isaac's interview goes viral, but unfortunately, most people believe the footage is fake, and Isaac is accused of seeking attention. A stranger even appears on TV, claiming to have helped Isaac fake the video. Isaac logs onto the internet and begins to search for articles about accounts of people being abducted. As he reads through various stories, he realizes that many of them share similarities with his own experience. He comes across a specific individual named Sarah and decides to reach out to her to arrange a meeting. When they meet in person, Isaac shares with Sarah his belief that encounters with extraterrestrial beings have been occurring on our planet for an extended period of time. He supports this idea by pointing out that historical paintings contain depictions of such encounters, and some scientists have reported receiving unexplained signals from outer space as well. Sarah inquires whether Isaac is familiar with the alien abduction that took place in Wrangell, Alaska in 1979. Isaac responds that he is not aware of it. Sarah proceeds to inform him that a man named Carl claimed to have been abducted, and when he made his story public, he disappeared without a trace. After a few days, Isaac is asked to take a polygraph test to verify his claims of being abducted by aliens. He answers several questions during the test and successfully passes it. However, soon after, he is pursued by men dressed in black from a covert organization. He tries to run away, but is eventually shot and captured. When he regains consciousness, he discovers that he is being carried to a room by androids and restrained to a chair. In a separate room, Sarah is also being held captive. Isaac is presented with a screen, where he is greeted by a man named Keith, who is actually Agent Graves. Graves informs Isaac that they will be evaluating his level of exposure. Various objects are placed in front of Isaac, and he is instructed to concentrate on them, but nothing appears to happen. Eventually, Isaac becomes uncooperative and demands to know where he and Sarah are. Graves asks Isaac if he knows the whereabouts of Carl, but Isaac lies and denies having any knowledge of him. Isaac breaks free from his restraints and fights off the androids to escape. While running, he spots Sarah in a room, and, using his mental abilities, manages to open the door. As they flee, they are pursued by androids who shoot at them, but they successfully escape the facility. Upon leaving, they discover that they are in Costa Rica. Graves commands his men to find Sarah and Isaac, who are likely searching for Carl. Isaac expresses his strong desire to speak with Carl, and believes that he can locate him if he can get online. After seeking assistance from a local girl, she suggests that they locate a hacker named Zed. When they arrive at Zed's remote cabin in the jungle, they discover that the people pursuing them work for the International Space Research Program, which is overseen by the United Nations. Zed agrees to help Sarah and Isaac locate information about Carl using his untraceable connection. While at Zed's treehouse, Sarah reveals to Isaac that she was abducted by aliens in the past. They find that they have many shared experiences that others would dismiss as made-up stories. Meanwhile, Zed searches for information about Carl, but is unable to find any leads on his whereabouts. Isaac recalls that Graves had mentioned that Carl was likely somewhere near British Columbia. He then remembers the strange signal that he and Beck had repeatedly received from Canada. By coordinating the signal with GPS data, they are finally able to pinpoint Carl's location, which turns out to be a remote area near British Columbia. They try to initiate a video chat with him, but Carl hangs up immediately when he receives a call from Zed. Isaac attempts to reconnect with Carl and is finally able to get his attention by sharing his own story of being abducted by aliens. Isaac informs Carl that he had transmitted a copy of his signal into space and received a response on the same night. Carl insists on seeing the response and Isaac sends it to him. Carl decrypts the seemingly random code in the response and plays it as an audio file. To their surprise, they hear an alien voice speaking and providing a specific time and location of their arrival, in 5 days at Carl's location. Following this revelation, Carl abruptly shuts down his computer. Isaac concludes that the only way to resolve the impending danger is for him to be present at the location indicated by the alien signal. However, Sarah initially believes that it is too risky to go. Eventually, Isaac convinces Sarah that going is the only solution, and Zed decides to accompany them. Meanwhile, the androids are on their way. The trio manages to board a jet bound for British Columbia. They then board a train to reach Carl's location, but the androids are hot on their trail. Zed suggests a plan to deceive the androids by wearing masks, but the plan fails and they are forced to flee the scene. In a last-minute escape, they manage to outsmart the androids and reach Carl's cabin. Initially holding them at gunpoint, Carl recognizes Isaac from their previous call and deactivates the trackers that the agents had put on Isaac and Sarah's arms, allowing them to stay with him for the next 2 days. Carl then reveals that he was also captured by the ISRP after his own alien abduction, but managed to escape and has been in hiding for the past 20 years. During that time, he has dedicated himself to developing programs to translate alien codes into audio and then into English, in an effort to make contact with the aliens once again. Now that the aliens are due to arrive, he hopes to be able to communicate with them using his system over the next 2 days. Meanwhile, the agency also figures out the location and is about to swoop on. While waiting for the aliens, Sarah and Isaac spend time together in the woods, getting to know each other better, while Zed curiously explores Carl's equipment and is impressed by the things he has created. Next day, while waiting for a sign in the cabin, a nearby tremor occurs and Isaac goes outside. He eventually encounters an alien and leads it back to Carl's cabin, where he uses the decryption machine to communicate with it. The aliens reveal that they have already conquered medicine, science, technology, and the physical world, and are now seeking something even greater, the origin of the universe, the greatest conceivable existent. They express their curiosity about Jesus Christ, believing that he may be the link to the origin of everything. Sarah questions why her arm has been hurting since her abduction, and the alien uses a sophisticated bracelet to reveal that a tracking device has been implanted in her arm for their records. As Isaac's tracker is being removed by the aliens, they tell him that it is impossible for him to find proof in a world where seeing is believing, and that they have come to understand that believing is seeing. Just as this conversation is taking place, the ISRP cops led by Agent Graves arrive and quickly surround the cabin. They demand for Carl to come out. Agent Graves then demands answer on what happened in the year 1979, and we find that Agent Graves is son of the worker who was working with Carl. On the day he was abducted, Graves asks Carl about his father, to which Carl replies he doesn't know. Graves orders his men to shoot Carl, and Sarah quickly runs outside to check on him, but she is also shot. Meanwhile, inside the cabin, Isaac is still having his tracker removed. The alien instructs Isaac to concentrate and use his senses. As he does so, the entire house is transported to a different dimension, and everyone is brought away from Graves and his men. The aliens then use their powers to heal both Sarah and Carl. They'd all bypass Graves, without him noticing an escape in the UFO. After 6 months, Sarah and Isaac have fallen in love and moved to Costa Rica to live a normal life together. Isaac still possesses his ability. Zid and Carl start a new agency. Meanwhile, William Graves is fired from ISR due to his illegal action in Carl's house, and with this the movie comes to an end. Comment what you guys think of the recap. For more, please subscribe. See you guys in next video.